Hi, I'm Tina, and thanks for taking time out of your busy day to join me here inside the Divine Joy Circle for another episode of Joyful Connections. And I'm really delighted to welcome a very special guest here today, Shan Vanderleek. Hi, Shan.
Hey, Tina.
It's so
great to be with you.
Yeah, awesome. Gosh, I would love for us to have a little exploration into letting joy be your guide, how that plays out in your life and in your business. You are, for anyone who doesn't know who you are yet, you're just such an amazing goddess of creation. You're an amazing podcast superstar, and you support others with getting their podcasts off the ground and live and all the audio tech support. You have an amazing podcast, Anxiety Slayer, that's had how many listens now?
We're just about 3.6 million.
Yeah, that's wild. Wow, totally awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah. And then there are so many other things that you also contribute in the world. One of the things I'd love for you to talk about a little bit today is the Goddess Talk Sessions. And so how does letting joy be your guide, how did that lead to the Goddess Talk Sessions?
You know, it's been almost 10 years, Tina, since I've been on my entrepreneurial journey. And I've been in a number of different events over the years, different summits and gatherings and things. And it's my nature to be a producer. And I thought, wow, with the work I've been doing with Transformation Goddess and the Divine Feminine Spotlight, which is another podcast that is doing really well, how could maybe I bring this all together and produce an event? And I have the background with the interviewing from my first book, Life on Your Terms. It's very natural for me to be behind the microphone and to interview. So I just went for it. And I had a lot of support from my very good friend, Linda Joy, when we first got started, because she's been doing these events a lot longer than I have. So she took me under her wing and just kind of looked over everything as I was putting it together. And it's been so much fun. And one of the reasons why it has been so much fun is I create a lot of spaciousness around the event. And as you know, as a sponsor last year and as a participant this year, I want all of the women to have plenty of time to do what needs to be done, to get their stuff together for promotion, to show up for their interviews, and to not feel pressed. And that I don't do well when I feel pressed with things like this. And I feel like it doesn't come off as beautifully. And since this is the Goddess Talk Sessions, I had to really honor that flow of feminine being and sweetness and just kind of letting it all flow together.
Yeah, and that's something so amazing, because I've participated in several of these online summits, and oftentimes we'll receive invitations to participate in one, and it's like starting next month. I'm like, are you crazy? It's nice to be invited, but it's like, wow, seeing how much goes on behind the scenes, it's amazing. And you bring such grace and ease and really beauty to the experience for everyone, the participants, the guests, everything is just really walking in beauty.
Oh, thank you.
Really nice.
Well, it's definitely the intention. So I'm glad you notice.
Yeah, beautiful.
And, the timing is important, because just this week alone, Tina, I've been invited to 3 different events, and they all start within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And I've had to say no to each one because my promotional calendar is full, and I'm planning into 2017 for those kinds of things. And so it's one of those things where, maybe it's good to let all of these wonderful heart-centered people know, give us more time and we'll happily say yes.
Yeah. Really nice. So can you tell us a little bit about how do you go about connecting with who to invite onto the Goddess Talk Sessions? And, what do you find, like, from the experience from last year? Thread emerging through the conversations. Have you noticed the threads this year? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, good questions. Well, usually what happens is there are a number of women that I follow online, and if I am moved by what they share, by their posts and pictures and the way that they show up in the world, I make note of it. And so a number of the women that are in the Goddess Talk sessions, you may not have heard of, but I don't care, because I want you to hear about them. I want you to know, look at this incredible artist or this incredible photographer, or, they might not even have a following really yet, in one regard, and they might have a huge following in another. As you know, some people have email lists, and some people have big social media followings, and some people have both. And so for me, it's very personal, like a heart connection. If, like, oh, I really love what she's up to, I'm going to invite her, and maybe she'll join me, or maybe she won't. And so the common thread really has been this beauty, for sure, because this is all about walking in beauty and reclaiming your feminine sovereignty. And so when I see a woman showing up, standing in her power, amplifying her voice, putting herself out there, very much like you do, this is who I am, this is what I'm all about, come play with me. And the positivity and the vibe of support and lifting women, I think those are all of the things that come shining through.
Beautiful. So have you found also that many men are listening in?
It's predominantly women. I would say the last metrics that I looked at last year was over 85% women. So there are certainly men listening in, but it's primarily a female event at this point. But who knows? It could cross over more this year.
Yeah. So juicy. It's so nice to. Yes, it's so nice. Because I find sometimes that having the conversations, I'll hear men talking about certain topics, and then when they hear the or they join in on the conversations that are happening in some of these events, that it's really interesting to hear different perspectives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think the name, the Goddess Talk sessions, really, hollers out divine feminine, woman's event. And so, but any men are welcome, and I'd love for them to listen. They might learn something and contribute, of course, but to listen in and really get to know the vulnerability, the transparency, and that really is the other piece. There hasn't been a woman yet that I've interviewed that was guarded. Everybody shares from where they are in the moment. So it's not really scripted. There are questions that I ask each woman, but I let them flow wherever they're going to flow. And so in that way, I think that the registrants, the listeners, can really sink in and enjoy it more, because it feels more real. And it's not a salesy event. We're not selling something. Every conversation is so valuable and from the heart. And then certainly you all are so generous with love offerings, so everybody comes away with gifts as well as the gift of conversation.
Yeah, well, you definitely have a gift for allowing others in your presence to relax. I think that's also one of the things for many of the entrepreneurs that I've come across. One of the biggest challenges to have, if it's apart from technology, then how do you even get a podcast online? That's a question that I've heard. I asked myself, and when I came into contact with you and realized that was one of the things that you offered support with, it was like, that's so good. But
I'm glad you feel that way. And every woman that I've partnered with so far for Podcast Bath and helping them get their podcast started has felt the same way. So far, so good. Everyone's been just like, oh my gosh, you just made that turnkey. You made it fun. You made it easy. I thought it was so much bigger than that. And so I really enjoy, and it was what a gift to realize that was another way I could help women amplify their voice. The elusive obvious, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All of this history with voice work and all of the stuff that I had done in my prior career gets to kind of come through now in a different way, in my way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. And so in being able to have others feel at ease while you're talking with them, so whether that's on video interviews or whether that's on podcast interviews or supporting them with their podcast, I think it's really helping them to get over that fear of being visible and being heard.
Yes.
And having the experience of like, oh, this is actually really fun. And I'm just having a chat, like having a chat with your girlfriend. And thereby, as we are having a chat now, it's like, wow, I just imagine that everyone who's watching or listening is in the room with us and is able to just participate and have that experience that it's okay, to just be you.
Yeah.
Let go of having to be perfect. Yeah.
And to be able to be here with you now, you in Australia, me in Northern Michigan in the United States, and for us to really feel like we're in the room together.
Yeah.
And what a gift that is. I know you from working with you. I know you from your online presence and your business, but to actually see your face and, watch you gesture and see your smile, it makes a big difference. And, I was watching Crystal Andrus is a friend of mine, Crystal Andrus Morissette, and she's just been fooling around with the new Facebook Live videos. And one of the things I love most about her is she didn't really know what she was doing at first, but she just dove in and was just messing around with it, looking at the camera and moving herself and talking to you while she's doing it, and not putting all of that pressure on herself to have it perfectly lit, perfectly done, all of that stuff, but just kind of getting the hang of it. And I thought, wow, she does that too. I love to see that, because then that gives each of us who are doing this kind of thing a pass to say, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. I can try too. Yeah. And who cares if the screen is flipped around or if the light's funny or if my hair is sticking over here or whatever. The point is to do it and get the experience and then take it from there.
It is amazing though, isn't it? If you think about technology, what it's enabled us to create in the world and how it's made it possible to share, and to be able to have like an event like yours with the Goddess Talk Sessions to bring thousands of women together in the world. And then you have a Facebook group where participants can come and share and interact with everyone. It creates this amazing experience for, oftentimes I think many women especially can feel, especially if they're in isolated parts of the world or maybe in a community where speaking about these topics is not really the norm, that they find others and are able to connect with them no matter where they're in the world. And friendships are created that go beyond that circle. So it's just so beautiful.
They are, and they are within the women who are featured in the Goddess Talk Sessions. I just had a note from Chanel Baran, who is in the sessions this year, about how she had just met Lucinda Ray and how they hit it off and were having this great conversation. And she was so jazzed that she made that connection with her that she wouldn't perhaps have made had we not done this event. So yeah, and the Facebook group has just blown up, which is fabulous. Everybody who registers is invited to come, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And what I'm already noticing is that community, I don't really even have to be there that much. Although I love to be there. The women are inviting each other. Some know, they're talking amongst themselves. The sponsors are coming in and talking. The speakers are interacting, and we have this really sweet virtual community. So I'm pretty excited about all of it.
Beautiful. So throughout the conversations that you've had in this Goddess Talk Sessions event, what has been the thread running through this year?
Oh yeah, you did ask me that. The thread is self-care, self-acceptance, self-love in a big way. That's really what's come through, is love yourself just as you are. Love your body just as it is. Accept yourself. Let go of the guilt and shame and all of the garbage you've been carting around. You don't have to carry it anymore. You can put it down and you can just make space to really shine exactly as you're meant to, with all of your gifts, in the body that you have, with the personality that you have, with all of the life experiences that you have that make you so incredibly beautiful and unique and perfect just as you are.
Beautiful. Oh. And I'm just wondering, because I know that you always pull a goddess card before you have each of the conversations. Was there one particular goddess that showed up throughout the series more often than others, or?
That's a great question. And there weren't any repeats.
Wow.
Not one repeat. As a matter of fact, I had the list in front of me because I thought you might ask me about the goddess cards. But we had Sarasvati, Ostara, Sedna. We had Mary Magdalene, Coventina, Sekhmet, Lakshmi, Pele, Mother Mary, the Butterfly Maiden, Aphrodite, Rhiannon. Just so much. So, just representing everybody, every goddess, right? Which just floored me. And then with each conversation, every card I pulled beforehand resonated.
Yeah.
Strongly, incredibly strong with each woman. And I thought, well, that's so cool because, I do consider myself a bit of a fortune teller. So you can draw these cards and and share this, and some popped out of the deck. And then so it allowed us to begin each conversation talking about that resonance and talking about that archetype, and then weaving that back into their own story.
Gorgeous. So did you happen to pick a goddess card before you hopped on our call here today?
I did.
Oh.
I did. Surrender.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Udi Harma makes these incredible cards at udiart.com. And she's an incredible artist. And I thought Surrender was perfect for this week, with Mercury retrograde, with the full moon coming, with the eclipse coming, with the event coming, with all of the stuff that's lining up. I just listened to your last interview with Nalini, and boy, she's spot on, huh?
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying your conversations with her. So Surrender seems very, very apropos.
Yeah. That's so cool, isn't it? And that's a really interesting one, because even the topic of surrender, definitely, I think that the transition times that we are finding ourselves in, part of that is really pressing Control Alt Delete on all the definitions that we've had, including of what goddess is not, and
right.
All of that, and including the definition of what surrender is and is not. Because even if at a conscious level people may hold the definition that surrender is letting go, if at an unconscious level there is any part that has equated surrender with giving up or giving in and
weakness,
then that creates a resistance. And it's almost like having to surrender the definition of surrender so that we can be free to be.
Right.
That's juicy.
When you can just exhale and drop your shoulders and soften your face, and that is surrender. That's a form of surrender. When you're not holding on so tightly to something, when you can set your intention and do the work, and then let the universe do the rest, right? And it's just any time that I allow myself to be in that flow, magic happens. And anytime I hold on too tight or get too needy or feel like, well, I need to be stronger or more masculine or drive this or make this happen, it might happen, but it might be painful getting there. So surrender is such a powerful thing to do, actually, I think, from my experience.
That's so cool. Yeah. So, the event is starting on the 19th of September. Right. And if anyone watching or listening hasn't registered yet, they can go to goddesstalksessions.com and register there. And yes, the other thing is, how long is the event running for?
Okay. So the event will run from September 19th through September 29th. However, because I believe in spaciousness and because I want our registrants to be able to listen at their leisure, I make them available through the end of October.
Great.
So everyone has from September 19th until October 31st to listen in. That's plenty of time to listen more than once to the 16 conversations. And so you get all 16 conversations, you get 21 love offerings from our speakers and sponsors, all for your goddess journey. These are really quality digital gifts, and as well as gifts from me. And it's just, I really encourage you to join us if you haven't already. I promise you that you will definitely identify with at least one, if not all, of the conversations in one way, shape, or form.
Beautiful. I'm looking forward to listening into everyone's like, oh, juicy, juicy.
Right on.
Yeah. So this is awesome. And so the other thing, I really would like to just talk a little bit about the services that you offer.
Okay.
One of them being the podcast.
Yeah, the direction of 2016 has really brought me into a lot more voice work for podcasters and radio show hosts and teachers and coaches who want to bring their products to life. So I'll often be the voice that you hear introducing a special class and doing that, and that's so fun. It's right in my wheelhouse. I enjoy voice work so much, but also in teaching heart-centered entrepreneurs who are a little bit technophobes, who are just like, it's too much. How I'm going to wrestle with this technology? And you know this because you find yourself helping people out when you never thought you would.
Yeah.
But to be able to show them how easy it is to amplify their voice and share their great work, and to help structure and strategize from creating the name, the description, what the schedule is going to look like, how it's produced, of course, the intro, the outro, the scheduling, all the behind the scenes stuff, as well as the marketing. So, I'm bringing it all forward. And one of the things that I'm going to do in 2017 is I'm going to roll out a group offering so that I can bring a circle of women together and teach because I love to do that. And so it won't be a huge group because I want everybody to have some one-on-one with me, but it'll be a way to get more people involved at a little less price point in a group setting. So that's been really fun. Fantastic. And then of course, the mentoring that I do for Transformation Goddess has really evolved for women who are really ready to break free from their golden handcuffs like I did 10 years ago and start something on their own. And to be able to partner with somebody like me who has gone through all of that transition where you feel like, how in the world could I ever do this? How in the world could I leave this lifestyle that I've created and start anew, and what that looks like in the stages of transition and so on and so forth. So I'm a bit of a scanner personality. I have lots of balls in the air, lots of revenue streams, but that's what I like. It keeps me really interested and active, and I kind of move around like a honeybee to my projects. Maybe that's why there was a bee in the room.
Yes.
So thank you for letting me talk about that. I love my work. There's really nothing before me that I don't love involving the day-to-day of my business. So it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah. And could you share a little bit about the Anxiety Slayer podcast? Because that's such a phenomenal, in such a short period of time, how that has grown. Incredible.
Yeah. It's probably longer than you think though, Tina, because Ananga and I came together almost 7 years ago. And showing up in each other's lives and for Anxiety Slayer listeners once a week on average for 7 years. Wow. So we're over 300 podcasts now. As I mentioned earlier, 3.6 million listens. Our inbox is full of questions all the time. We never run out of questions to cover. And that's really the structure of Anxiety Slayer, is answering listener questions from our inbox and Facebook page, so we can go directly to the source. And then I've also been doing some interviewing there as well. I just had the opportunity last month to interview Coot Blackson. And boy, is he an interesting cat. to read his book. And he's, so positive, and we've talked to other experts on post-traumatic stress and anxiety, and it's such a wonderful partnership. Ananga Sivyer is in the UK, as you know, and here I am in the US, and we have become close friends, business partners, and we haven't been in the same room together yet. So in 2017, I'm going to probably hop over the pond and go visit her and spend some time with her. At least that's our intention at this point. I thought, how in the world we know each other so well? But again, it's like this, we're looking at each other, we're talking to each other, we're sharing personally and professionally, and we get to support all of our listeners with really good information that helps them feel better, that helps them wipe out the fear and discomfort of anxiety, which can be really quite something.
Yeah. And I think the other thing to keep in mind here for anyone watching, listening, is that, wow, 3.5 million listens, that is awesome. Keeping in mind that what you said, 7 years, something to really be aware of is the consistency, and that, for many and that's where I feel like your support is just so awesome, because you are really extraordinary at providing the support to keep going, to keep, to encourage, to send reminders, which for many, I know for myself that it can be really easy to get sidetracked and get my energy focused on other things. And you will send me a reminder, to make sure that my podcast episodes are ready to go. And it's that support at times where if I had not had your support on this, I would have probably said, you know what, I just won't post one this week. But
right. And the thing is then when you miss, now you have such a following. They're like, hey, Tina, where were you? Why didn't you show up? I have another client that she's like, I just don't know if I have the time for, this podcasting and da. And I said, well, I think your 10,000 downloads would tell you that people want to hear what you have to say. Perhaps we could talk about how you could structure your time to, knock out some podcasts that they want to listen to, It doesn't have to be a really big deal. And it's that kind of thing. And then for some people, they do want to walk away. And so far, none of my clients have walked away, but I think it's because I remain, it's not on me, but because I'm helping them, I'm continuing to walk beside them and help them. I do think that's a part of it, but it's not all of it by any means. About 40% of podcasts are abandoned.
Really?
So that's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're gonna do it, you can be really organized about it and really have a longer term plan that makes it really easy to show up, just like blog posts or anything else that you do if it's scheduled and you get it done. And then when you start to see that you're making a difference in your listeners' lives, you gotta keep showing up if you can. You can take a break, you can take a sabbatical, just let them know what you're doing.
Yeah, so cool. So did you find that there was a certain moment where it was a tipping point where all of us, after however many months, maybe even years, that all of a sudden it's like it took on a life of its own?
That's such a good question. Ananga and I didn't pay any attention to the metrics at all until we hit 1 million downloads. I'm not kidding either. It was like, oh my gosh, we have 1 million downloads. Because we didn't want it to be about metrics when we were starting out. We just wanted it to be about service, because we thought if we got too caught up in measurements and lists and affiliates and so on and so on and so forth, that we'd lose track of what we were doing. And so now we're paying attention to metrics more, and we have a lot more going on with our Anxiety Slayer Academy, and of course with the free podcasts and all of the things that we've pulled together. But it was one of those things where it was really a sweet surprise. And I think I can't tell you what year we hit 1 million, but we've gone from 1 to 3.6 a lot faster than we got from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing with Transformation Goddess. I've only been doing that podcast for a short period of time, comparatively speaking, and only once a month. and we're to over 80,000 downloads.
Wow.
But it's because I keep showing up. So keep showing up. You know, if you're involved in this, call me. I'll help you out, or if you want to move forward. But if you're doing it and you're thinking, I think I'm going to stop, boy, I'd be happy to talk to you about that as well, because you don't have to.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And great encouragement, because I think oftentimes people don't see what's going on behind the scenes, and you're very transparent about that and very supportive, and also realizing that everyone has their own way of having to find out what works for them, because for some it will be easier to just sit down and write a script and then actually read the script. For me, it's like I need to get the download of whatever the title is going to be, and then it just sort of flows. Everyone's different, but when you find what works for you and you're great at supporting them with it, then it keeps showing up. So that's so cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's got to be fun.
Yeah.
It's really great to support authors who have brand new books and they can bring their books to life. Or bloggers who have countless numbers of posts that somehow end up archived, right? Just because that information came out 2 years ago doesn't mean it's still valuable today. Bring it to life. Or bring your work to life in a class. When you're out doing a speaking engagement or a live event, a live workshop, record it and then let me turn it into a digital product for you. You know, it's that kind of stuff where you repurpose, because somebody didn't see it the first time around and they're going to benefit from it.
So cool. You know, one thing that made me laugh when you were saying going from the 1 million to the 3.6 went a lot faster than getting to the first million. It reminds me of a saying, I think it was Richard Branson who said, you know, the fastest way to become a millionaire is to be a billionaire first. And start an airline. That was it. It's like, no, so many times people would say, oh, never mind that first million, just get me to the next. You know?
Right. Oh, I have such great respect for him. He just blows my mind. After all these years, he still just seems so grounded and still so easygoing, and he's still having fun. And think about what he's responsible for, you know, but the people that he surrounds himself with, and I think he really walks his talk.
Fun brand, yeah. So awesome. Wow. So there are so many different ways that people will be able to connect with you. We'll post the links under the video and in the podcast description. So for anyone who's wanting support with getting their voice heard and needs some support with that, then they need to reach out to you.
Yay. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please. And join us for the Goddess Talk sessions. Please, 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 because you're going to love it.
Yeah. And invite your friends and let's expand the circle and let's have an amazing, juicy time in there. And is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we wrap up today?
Oh, gee. Well, first of all, I want to thank you very much for making time to interview me and talk about all of this yummy goodness. But I think what I'd like to leave everybody with is just that be good to yourself, be gentle with yourself, love yourself up as much as you possibly can. It's such an incredible, light feeling when you can accept yourself just as you are, and you can move forward in your perfect imperfection and just be okay with that. And that self-care piece, the self-love piece, if there's anything in your way, it's time to address it. It's time to let it come forward and release it. This full moon coming up is the perfect time to do that. Just love yourself.
What a beautiful message to end our conversation on. And thank you, Shan, for being here. And it truly always is a joy to connect with you. And I love how you share your experiences. You really are letting joy be your guide to a life that's worth waking up for every day. And may our conversation inspire others to really stay true to themselves and discover what it is that's joyful for them, because it's different in each moment for everyone. So join the Goddess Talk Sessions. Go to goddesstalksessions.com, sign up, and if you'd like to connect with Shan, then you'll find the links in the description and be able to reach out. So until we meet again, Go forth, let joy be your guide to a life that's worth waking up for, and many joyful blessings.
Peace.